Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Gary, and we are going to discuss the books that I read in June. So, just to preference this a little bit, I have no idea what I am even doing. This is like my first foray into making this type of video. So, bear in mind, it's gonna be a little weird. I'm gonna mispronounce some things. I'm not gonna say things right. It's just gonna be how it is, and I'm sorry about it, but yeah. So, a little bit about me, because this channel is new. I started reading in January again, after not reading since high school. So, I started reading again because life in 2026 is hard. And I think everybody else can agree with me that we all need a little escape from time to time.
Yeah, you can say that again.
So in January, I signed up for a Goodreads account, and I found out on Goodreads that they have a bookmark challenge. So I was like, okay, cool. This is the perfect way for me to get out of my comfort zone so I can stop reading the same books that I'm probably inevitably going to read over and over and over again. So I started to go ham on reading. And I didn't realize how much I was going to get invested into reading again. So I was like, you know what? Let's make a YouTube channel about it and see if I can find other like-minded people like me who enjoy reading as an escape, and I can talk about the books that I've been reading and I can give you all my opinions on them. So just a preference, this is all my opinion. Everything that I say is all my words. I am not getting sponsored or asked to review these books or anything like that. Everything I say is my own opinions and what I feel and what I think. So, the first book that I read in June was for the Escapist Reads Bookmark Challenge, and that was Dungeon Crawler Carl. Why can't I talk? Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Didiman. The apocalypse will be televised. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your ex-girlfriend's cat just so happens to get out a window, and so you have to follow that cat outside to go get her back in, and then the apocalypse happens? Neither have I, but that's how this book starts. Carl is given a choice. Either he can stay on the surface, which has now become completely desolate, or he can go into a dungeon and fight to survive. Ultimately, Carl decides to go into the dungeon and fight to survive. This is his story. So this book was amazing from start to finish. I enjoyed the ever-living hell out of it. It was a great first book in the series. Princess Donut was my favorite character of all time, and I loved her. Sorry, let me correct myself. Princess Donut, Queen, and Chunk. Sorry. I'm excited to read more. The only thing that I would say that kind of took me out of it a little bit was there was a lot of game mechanics that got explained for later on down the series. And also like a lot of like, oh, I can't tell you that right now. You'll know later on. And like later on being in like a different book. Like, okay, I want to know things right now. So it was hard for me to be like, oh, okay, this is happening later on. It's not happening right now. I want to focus on what's happening right now. I don't really want to be set up for later. So that's kind of what took it down a star for me. But otherwise, it was a really great book and I really enjoyed it. So I gave it 4 stars. So my second book for the month of June was Heated Rivalry. Heat. I hate myself. Heated Rivalry. Heated Rivalry. Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. Heated Rivalry tells the story of Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov as they rise through the hockey world as rivals, and also secretly lovers. I read this for the Summer Reading Bookmark Challenge. I read Game Changers earlier in the year, and it was okay. But Heated Rivalry is the one that really blew it out of the park for me. I loved Shane and Ilya. Shane, I could really connect with for being on the spectrum myself. Shane is a autistic character, even though Rachel Reed did not have it in the story. She has later come back and said that Shane is an autistic character. So it was great rep for me. I felt The writing in this one was way better than Game Changers. The grammar, the way that they talked to each other, it wasn't very wooden. I found Scott talking to Kip to be really, really, really super wooden in Game Changers, and it was just like, hi, hey, I'd like a smoothie. Okay. Like, this flowed way better. Way, 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 way better. The only critique I really have with this book is that it explains a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily show a lot of things. So, like, Shane will sit there and he will talk about something that happened instead of just, like, showing it as it happened in plot, you know? So a lot of stuff just got kind of eventually explained instead of shown. And it was like kind of to fit in Ilya's plot points too, I think. But at the same time, it kind of felt like we lost a little bit of Shane in between the whole thing. But overall, I would say the book was a solid 4 stars. So the next book that I read was My Dinner with Hayden, a Heated Rivalry short story. This one is in the back of the Heated Rivalry book, and it is a short story featuring Hayden from Heated Rivalry, Ilya, and Shane. I'm not going to give too many details about this because I don't want to spoil anything, but pretty much my reaction this entire book was this.
Boo! You stink!
3 stars. The next book I read was called 30 Love by Tom Velanier. I think that's how you say his name. And I also kept accidentally calling it Thirsty Love because, you know, that's on brand for me. Based off of, you know, how I'm going 10 for 10 with pronouncing things so far. I read this book for the Pride Picks challenge for the Goodreads bookmarks. It follows the story of Leo, who is a closeted tennis player. He is trying to win the US Open for himself, but also for his dad, who had to retire early due to his MS diagnosis. He also has to face off against Gabe, who is his rival and has been his rival for several years since they were at tennis camp together, and Gabe was not so nice about his dad and about him, basically calling Leo a nepo baby. Which wasn't necessarily something that I completely liked about the story, because Leo is dealing with his dad who has MS, and, like, Gabe in the shadows just being like, oh, you're just a nepo baby, that kind of, like, rubbed me the wrong way. Because then we have to, like, believe that this jerk is the love interest? I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And that's why I didn't necessarily like the book as much as I probably should have. Another critique I have is that Leo's family really infantizes him. Like, he's 30 in the book, but he felt 19 at times for the way that they were treating Leo. So I would say overall this book was 3 stars. Definitely check it out. It is very good for a debut novel for Tom. So I'm definitely looking forward to more of his work when he comes out with more. Coming back to the Game Changers series, what I read next was Halloween with Ilya. Now, this is a short story. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty cute. Overall, I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's only like 6 pages. It's not on Rachel Reed's website anymore, so to read it, you have to find it on YouTube of like somebody reading it. Usually it's AI, so be careful. But ultimately, I thought it was pretty cute. So the next book that I read was Tough Guy by Rachel Reed. Tough Guy tells the story of Ryan Price, who is a character that we meet in Heated Rivalry. Ryan as a character has a lot of anxiety. He takes anxiety meds, which ends up ruining a lot of things in the bedroom for him. He also doesn't have a lot of confidence. So he meets Fabian, who is actually somebody that he knew from his past, from growing up. He ended up rooming with him and his parents for a hockey season before he got traded to a different team when he was in a youth league. And Fabian absolutely hates hockey players, so this relationship is off to a great start. Ultimately, this book just kind of didn't do it for me. I felt like the main characters were just too opposite to work together. The Ilya cameo in this book was pretty hilarious, I do have to say, and it is a little bit of a building block because they introduce you to characters that are going to be important later on in the series, and I wanted to like it, I did, but ultimately I'm going to give this book 3 stars. Just some of the stuff that happened at the end of the book kind of turned me off a little bit about it. I would say if you have anxiety yourself, definitely go into this book knowing that some of the stuff in this book is going to trigger you. In the end, it was just an average read, I would say. So next up on the list for June was Common Goal by Rachel Reed. So Common Goal follows the story of Eric Bennett, who we meet in Game Changers, the first book. He is Scott Hunter's best friend, pretty much, on the team. As well as it also follows Kyle, who is the guy who was hitting on Kip in Game Changers as well. And we find out that Kyle has not been able to kick his crush for Kip, despite Kip being a taken man. So Eric and Kyle know each other because Eric likes to go to the Kingfisher, the bar that Eric is a bartender at, after games with Scott. So they kind of get to know each other, but Kyle notices that Eric is wearing his wedding ring still. Now, Eric is a recent divorcee, but he is also a hockey star, so he has superstitions. And one of his superstitions relates to his wedding ring. He never wants to take it off, even though he's not married anymore. And that gives a mixed signal. Really? A mixed signal. A mixed signal. A mixed signal. It gives a mixed signal to Kyle. There's also an age gap in this book. Kyle and Eric are significantly older than one another. Eric is 41 and Kyle is 25. It's an appropriate age gap, in my opinion. I did enjoy it as far as an age gap goes. The problems with the book relate to other things. Pretty much my problem with the book is Eric.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So 3 stars, because I did enjoy some aspects of it. Otherwise, I would have gotten 2 stars. But it was a good book up until probably the 90% mark for me. That just felt like Rachel had no real idea where she was going with it, and she had a deadline, so she just finished it with whatever she could, it felt like. It felt very rushed. The final book that I read in June was Role Model by Rachel Reed. So Role Model follows the story of Troy Barrett, who has just been traded to the Ottawa Centaurs from the Toronto team. I forget their name. I don't know. It was And he gets traded because he got into a fight with a fellow player who used to be his best friend over some allegations that came out about his best friend. So now Troy has to pick up the pieces on a new team, and he meets Harris, who is the team's social media manager, who is a literal ball of sunshine and the sweetest person I think I have ever met in a book. Like, Harris is amazing. I love him. And he has to rehabilitate his image in Ottawa. And if you know Troy from the previous books, then you know that Troy is very homophobic, as well as he is very masculine leaning. But the issue is he is gay himself. He's just very closeted, and he's terrified of anybody knowing, so he puts on this mask of heteronormality to protect his image, in a sense, and to prevent himself from getting outed. I really enjoyed this book. This book was like right up there with Heated Rivalry for me. The only critique I would have is that there are an abundance of steamy scenes again. I'm used to steamy scenes from reading Heated Rivalry and Game Changers, but the other 2 books didn't necessarily have a lot of like overly steamy scenes. So for this book, to just kind of like have like, wow, we're just having a scene just to have a scene. It just kind of felt a little overkill for me, I would say, and it took away from important moments because it's like, oh, we're gonna stretch out the book and put this in now. So, and it just like it just kind of felt a little meaningless and a little silly at times because it's like, yes, okay, yes, we know, we get it, but overall I would say the book is 4 stars. This book is a must. If you are only reading Heated Rivalry and The Long Game for Ilya and Shane, I would definitely recommend that you pick up this book and you read it too, because there are also some really good Ilya moments in this book as well, and it just brings out a sense of pride and a sense of where I hope the series is going. So alrighty guys, that's all that I have for you for today. If you liked this video, feel free to hit that like button and that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another book review that isn't as disastrous as this one, but we will see. And I hope you have a good night, guys. I hope you have a good day, and happy reading!